Welcome back to the Ball Does Lie podcast, your one-stop shop for daily NBA content. My name is Amir, here with my co-host Brendan. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about the Thunder and have the Thunder come back down to earth. So they started the season looking like they were unstoppable. They were a machine. We were talking about them possibly breaking the Golden State's record for most regular season wins. They were 24-1. They were just blowing out teams. SGA looked like the unanimous MVP at that time, even though the Joker, who was knocking on the door with triple doubles, looked great as well. But that dominance was insane. But lately, they haven't been that great, Brendan. I think they're 6-6. In their last 12 games, they've dropped games to the Hornets, which is by far the worst team they've lost to. The Suns, I mean, they're up and coming.
Suns,
They're
Suns
they're
are good. Suns are
they're
solid.
Suns are good.
Still,
They're
still
still
shocking. Still a
still
shocking
shocking the
result.
way they started, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't think it's time to panic, but do you think this was just like the natural ebb and flow of an 82 game long season, or are we actually seeing cracks in OKC's armor? What are your
I,
thoughts?
yeah, I don't think we're necessarily seeing cracks. I think San Antonio showed a couple different ways you could potentially beat the Thunder. A lot of it is just involved with really solid elite guard play. Don't turn the ball over against them and hit threes. That's not anything profound. It's not like teams aren't trying to execute on that either way if they're playing the Thunder. I think that's been one small way you can beat the Thunder. For the most part, though, during this kind of rough stretch in the last 12, you said they're basically 6-6, somewhere around there, 6-4 in their last 10. Still a winning record. They've just really struggled shooting the ball. The Thunder have. I think a lot of their guards who are complete lockdown defenders started the season off really hot, and now we're at a point where I think some of their 3-point shooting numbers are just kind of regressing back down to the mean.
Yep.
They're right now 25th in their last 10 games in 3-point percentage. They were a top 10 team while they were kind of going on their juggernaut like run. And they're shooting, what's the number here? They're 32% from the 3-point line in those last 10 games during this really rough stretch.
Pretty
I
bad.
don't I don't expect that to be the number that they live on for the rest of the year. I think I anticipate that'll get better. So it is kind of part of the ebb and flow. I'm not too worried about the Thunder. I think they'll bounce back. I think they can finally put the 73-9 nonsense behind them and actually just focus on getting back to playing regular kind of Thunder winning basketball. But my interesting take has been since Chris Finch had kind of his blow up, the officiating has drastically changed against the Thunder. Shai is not getting to the line half as much as he was before, and the Thunder themselves are being called for a lot more fouls. I think that there's something to that, especially on this run here. I want to get your take on that. Do you think the way the game's being officiated has changed a bit for the Thunder? And do you think that could potentially spell problems for them long term? Or do you think this is something they'll just get over and get back to winning?
I think they'll get back to winning, and I don't think they change the way they officiate because of one rival head coach complaining, because everybody's been complaining, I'm sure.
The way he
During
blew up, though, there's been almost that's kind of a clear mark in the sand of when things have started to turn for the Thunder. But sorry, I cut you off there.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like could be a coincidence that like now they're being more tight-lipped with the whistle, but the calls that they were making, I think, for SGA like were so ticky-tack at times. And there was one play, I forgot who it was against during the streak, the last 10 games or so, where he got fouled and he was literally not even touched. Like a referee from the opposite side
That was the
called,
Warrior game.
was it the Warrior
Yeah,
game where he's on the
yeah,
baseline and he flailed in like the
yep.
last second? Maybe he put his toe out and touched the defender. Um, just like plays like that, like it just those types of plays piss me off. And how basketball in the last decade or so has become more theatrical, like soccer. There's always been floppers, dating back to Vladi Divac. Shout out to your, former king, obviously
Literally,
former
his nickname
Laker.
was the Flopper.
Yes, like they've been doing it for a long time and whatnot, but like players even like LeBron, Luca, and SGA and other superstars, even Anthony Edwards or whoever, Jalen Brunson, like all these players now are just like either yelling "Hey" or "Ah," like when they attack the rim. Like if even one little touch of the body, like it's becoming like to me a non-contact sport. But for these superstars, they're just selling so much because they understand when it comes to winning regular season games, winning a big reason why teams win, especially when they're in the mud or not shooting efficiently like the Thunder were as a team. You slow the game down by getting to the free throw line and getting those freebies and shooting those high percentage shots. And a lot of these players who are averaging 28, 30 points per game, they're all getting to the free throw line 8 to 12 times a game. And they're getting like 9, 10 of their points from the free throw line, essentially, right? So I'm just tired
Yeah.
of like how they flop more and they show those highlights of SGA's face that he makes. Like there's a play when Anthony Edwards was guarding him and he literally was just beating him to the spot essentially, and he was just moving laterally with him, and they kind of like their bodies kind of touched, and SGA bounced off him a little bit and like flailed and made this hilarious type face. Like I hate that type of shit. So I'm actually if it's because of Finch that they're actually saying like, hey, like stop being theatrical and just like kind of play the game ethically in a sense, like versus just foul baiting, I guess. Um, I'm okay with that then, I guess. But like you can't just completely change the way you officiate overnight. So I don't know if that's like gonna continue now. Like they're gonna just be like, all right,
Yeah.
now we're gonna call hand checks on Dort or Caruso, who I've seen like at times get away with stuff, but like how many other players on other teams are getting away with that type of stuff as well, playing aggressively? Well, look at Draymond Green, what he can say and what he can do. Like no one
Right.
can say or do what Draymond does without getting 50 technicals, right? Like Draymond has a threshold, and his threshold is insane compared to any other player, right? Like he could like say "f you" to a ref and not get ejected, and the nicest player on earth could say that to any ref on any given day, and they would eject them immediately, right?
Yeah. Quick technical.
So yeah, I don't
Um,
know. I think
yeah.
they'll get back on track though. I think just in general, like the shooting woes are an issue, but they're top 5 in defense and offense. They're gonna be fine. Like they're just having a shooting slump, and that happens. Like it
Yeah.
just
And I
happens.
and I think J Dub is still getting kind of acclimated. He's had a really slow start to the year, so I anticipate he'll start playing better as we approach the All-Star break. And I think they're not desperately missing him, but they are missing Isaiah Hartenstein. He's been a pretty great force for them on the boards. Looking at their rebound numbers now, basically since he's been out, they're a bottom half part of the league in terms of rebounding, which I think changes once Hartenstein's back in that lineup. And he gives them a lot of variability in their offense because he's such a great passing big man. He can hit that little floater that's about 5 to 10 feet from the bucket. And then obviously a really great defensive presence inside. So they still have some pieces that are coming back. J-Dub, I think, will start playing better. I think they'll start shooting better. If you were to position me, who do you feel confident in the West? Do you pick the Thunder or the Field? I still lean a little bit toward the Thunder, although the Nuggets without Jokic have looked so good. They're making me rethink a lot of this. But the Thunder, I think, are still obviously the team to beat, being the defending champs and being as good as they are. But real quick, just to end it off, I'll ask that same question to you, Amir, before we end this. Who do you think, or who would you take in the Western Conference? Would you take the Thunder, or would you take somebody else in the Field?
I'm leaning towards the Kings these days, after their last
Nice. Yeah, me
6
too. Me
games. I
too.
think they've
Hey,
been
Keegan Murray's really been turning it around, and
yeah. DeMar DeRozan's look great.
Raynaud looks great. We have a great young rookie.
Westbrook, Schroeder, I just think they
Hey,
have so many.
Russ is still he's not as a Kings fan and a Russ fan. I'm feel conflicted because he gives the Thunder or the Kings the best chance at winning, but there's just no winning.
But there's
So
no chance because
what are we doing?
he's
Why did we
washed
bring in
and old.
Schroeder? Why did we bring in Russ after we signed Schroeder? I just don't understand anything my team is doing.
Yeah, they're it's a guard league, so I think the depth of the Kings are like they're gonna somehow probably win 35 of their next 40 games and go 35-5 for the rest of the year, maybe, and then get to like the 6th seed and
Get in the
avoid the
plan.
play in, and then get the Thunder eventually. I still think that the Thunder are one of the most dangerous teams in the league. I still think the Spurs are too young to maybe leapfrog them at this point, but you never know because the NBA
Kind
is
of have
all
their
about
number.
matchups.
Yeah, Spurs
And but
kind of have their number.
but it's all about matchups, right? And like, does that translate and compute? Like, sometimes it does. Sometimes it's hard to get over that hurdle, but they have the championship experience now that Wemby doesn't have that experience. A lot of the players on that team, De'Aaron Fox sure doesn't, right? As a former Sacramento King, had that one little run. They made it to the second round. That was cute, but they don't have the championship experience right now. So, and that's the only team that has their number. And with the Jokic injury, that's a big man having a knee issue that could come back or linger, and who knows? But the Nuggets are a threat. The Rockets are a threat, but think I don't know. I don't know if they can dethrone them yet. We'll see. Things can change. There's only been 40 games played at this point or so, so we
Yeah,
still have a lot of season
not
left
even
to
at the
see.
halfway point. Yep.
So, but as of right now, I still think they're also the team to beat. But it's also really hard to win back to back. So we got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah.
But they're just like keep saying this, say this all the time. If you're top 10 in both offense and defense, but top 3, what are they right now? What are they right now? Like they're going to be a top 5 in both offense and defense when all said is done, right? Like I'm assuming
Yeah. Yeah. For their
offensive
if
rating,
we
defensive rating. What are they at right
yeah,
now?
if we look at the entire season, they're still number 5 in their offensive rating after this pretty horrendous slump too.
And
Defensive
they've
rating
slipped.
still at
They've
the top
slipped
of the
big
league.
time, and that's 5.
Yep. And they're a significant leader in defensive rating. They're a 105 defensive rating. The Pistons are number 2 at 110, and their net rating is still by far tops in the league. A 13 net rating. Next closest team is the Rockets at 8.
That's
So
exactly my point right there. That's what I'm trying to go
it's
back to. Is like if you're that good at offense and defense, and you're a juggernaut like that, that's when you most likely still win championships, unless huge obstacles happen with injury or insane cold shooting slumps, like worse than what they're experiencing now, right? So those are the only ways I think, injuries or if teams get insanely hot during the playoffs and other variables. But
yeah,
I think they'll be good. I think they'll be fine.
yeah,
But anyway,
and
yeah, they're the team to beat still. But anyway,
yeah.
that's all we have for this episode. If you guys do enjoy our content, make sure to subscribe to the Ball Does Live podcast for more NBA content. Thanks for your time, Brendan. Appreciate it. And I'll
Thank
see you
you,
soon.
Amir.